Uh,
Hey everyone, it's Lauren Hubele back with Gemmos Voices, and I'm so excited to introduce you to Susie Killian. Susie has agreed to come on today and visit with me about her amazing work with animals. And Susie and I've worked together for a number of years. Susie, how long have you been using Gemmos in your practice?
my gosh, Lauren, I think that I started with you learning in 2015, I want to say.
So
So
we're just about
it,
at the 10-year mark.
yeah, wow. Yeah, it's been quite a journey. Yeah, that's when it all started. It's been an amazing journey, and the animals are thoroughly enjoying the Gemmos, I have to say.
Well, it's Susie, I want to take a moment to acknowledge all you've contributed to our learning and this body of knowledge that we've been able to grow over those 10 years in our Gemmo community. I wouldn't have been the same without you showing up with your insights and amazing questions.
Oh, well, thank you, Lauren. I mean, I always give most of my credit to you and how I've been able to absorb from you and the, incredible community that you've brought together for learning about the Gemmos. And yeah, it's been amazing. I think everybody has really interesting insights to share about this. And working with the animals can be a little bit of an extrapolation of what we know for humans, but yeah, I continue to learn on a daily basis about this, and it's nice for people to be able to incorporate the Gemmos for their pet.
Yeah, and I mean, what's been really fun is riding this edge of an unfolding new medicine, right? Which is really
Yeah,
what chemotherapy
yeah, yeah,
is. So
absolutely.
today, obviously, our topic is animals, and this our conversation will complement the Gemmo guide that I'm publishing, and folks will be able to use that guide and then pull from it to also work on their animals, even though there is not a chapter
Mhm.
specific on that. But I think it's important for folks to see you and meet you and know that you can be a resource to them with your practice and your advice. And we'll share a little bit today about how how you use Gemmos. And Susie, when I was writing the book, one thing I was thinking about is when people are working for on themselves or their family, they come into Gemmos from different avenues, and you know this yourself.
Yeah,
Perhaps they're looking to, at first, just address an acute issue, a cold or
yeah.
a flu or a virus. And animals also have acute issues. Like, what would be a typical acute issue you might address with animals?
Oh, I mean, I think really commonly with the animals are acute gastrointestinal issues.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, that comes up so often. Vomiting, maybe they've gotten into something, maybe they've eaten something that doesn't agree with them. I would say vomiting and diarrhea
yeah.
are, I mean, that's a big one. That's a big one that comes up a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. And so when you're approaching that with Chimos, what are you looking at? Like, what are some key extracts that you use?
Yeah, I'll tell you what is invaluable, I think, for people with animals is having common fig on hand for
Yeah.
sure, as that helps the entire GI system, from mouth all the way down to the, elimination organs. So fig is a big one that I use all the time. And then combining that would be black currant
Yeah.
because that's such an anti-inflammatory and it helps the action of whatever extract it's paired with. So that combination is really great. And often I do use common alder
Yeah.
in these acute sort of inflammatory situations that come up as well because it's a huge anti-inflammatory and it beautifully acts on mucous membranes. And so those three, I would say they're kind of must haves. I mean, I, of course, could have a list of 10 must haves, but
Sure. Yeah,
but
but
fig
starting
would be
there, if we're looking at those acute episodes, because that's really a great place to dip your toe in and get familiar with.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Because it's rare when an animal doesn't come across that issue. It's, I mean, the healthiest of animals can have these acute flare-ups at times for, you know, a variety of reasons. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then another avenue that we've been directing folks to, and our community has been on the cutting edge of sharing this information, is about Gemmos for the nervous system. And are you using Gemmos for the nervous system for animals?
I am definitely using Gemmos for the nervous system for animals. I've gotten to a place where I pretty much always am suggesting a nervous system extract in all cases, and this is it can be acute as well as, you know, chronic cases. Um, in It's especially helpful, I found, for I have a lot of clients that do rescue work,
Oh,
and so really that's the first thing we're going after, is trying to help the animal co-regulate, trying to sort of settle the nervous system, because at that point we don't really have any real physical information yet to go on, you know. But the nervous system extracts can be of great help just right off the bat for the nervous system states, the emotional states of these animals, you know, when they're coming into a new situation. So it's been really helpful, yeah, in a lot of cases.
do you have a favorite or two of nervous system extracts?
Yeah, I do. You know, the two that really are popping up for me right now are, in relation to this situation, are dog rose and hazel. And I'm liking the two, maybe one in the morning and one in the evening, sometimes together. I would say those two I use most often, because the dog rose really has that sort of panic element to it, which a lot of these, whether it's a rescue animal or not, whether it's come from a known awful situation or not, animals, they carry a lot of trauma with them, you know, and I think they carry a lot of that ancestral issues that humans talk about. Animals carry that too. I really believe they come into this world with something to work out in the way that we do, or a job to do. And so oftentimes there's a lot of fear associated with their states, you know, I mean, depending on and what has happened even in this life. So dog rose is beautiful, beautiful. It really sort of takes down that acute panicky hysterical situation. And if the animal seems particularly fragile or in a fragile state, I think dog rose can really help with that. And the hazel, I'm really liking the hazel just for its kind of basic soothing effects. It's just, that's really a good word for hazel. It really just kind of calms everything down for the animal. And oftentimes there's liver involvement with these animals. And so hazel hits that a little bit. And, you know, some of these animals might not sleep well because of their nervous system states. And I think hazel can be really soothing in those situations. So yeah, I'm a fan of those two, probably
Yeah.
first and foremost right now.
Susie, I think it's so interesting. I was just meeting with Donna Campion, the pediatrician, who you know, Donna.
Yeah.
Those were her two favorites for children.
Oh my gosh. Well, there's such crossover, you know, and such interlapping between, or can be, between children and animals. Yeah, that that sense of innocence that they have, and that,
Mhm.
that their ability really to be kind of open and take everything on. So it's almost like I could see what would help a child would help an animal, and vice versa. But that's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Although not surprising.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you tapped on a good word there is innocence. And also, neither one can really mask their response, right? It is what it is, right?
Exactly. Exactly. That's such a good point. Animals, it's out there.
Sure.
It's out there. It takes some observation. You really want to be aware of watching what your animal is doing and watching their signs. And I try to help people a little bit with noticing nervous system signs, that you might see, because they can't hide it. That you can't, a cat cannot hide what its tail is doing, right? Or animals
Exactly.
can't hide the position of their ears, that is telling a lot to us about what they're, feeling or experiencing in the
Yeah.
world. So yeah.
So there's another avenue folks might go in looking for help, like with a chronic symptom, right? Something that has been around for a long time, or has come out of maybe from an accident that didn't heal. And so are you seeing your work with that Gemmos have an impact on these chronic symptoms?
Um, Absolutely, for sure. I tend to follow what you have taught and put out there for so many years in the way that I approach animals, in that I am trying to address the nervous system
Mhm.
first and get a good extract in place for that. And then I am looking um, deeply into their elimination patterns, because if I want to go in with extracts that are more targeted to specific organ systems, I do want to make sure that the elimination is, firmly online first. So I do kind of follow that sort of incremental approach. Nervous system, I am then looking at elimination, what's happening there, diarrhea, soft stools, right, hard, dry stools. And then after that, when we get all that online, most of the time they're better already, and then I can go in with more deeper targeted extracts,
Mhm.
pertaining to whatever is going on with the animal. Yeah. Although, having said that, Lauren, I did, I don't know if this is a little off subject now, but I did feed a horse once in an acute state, where I did use some deeper extracts, and it was the most beautiful response. And I was using deeper lymphatic extracts,
Sure.
and it was amazing. So it's not to say that you can't do a lot of help, where maybe it's not ideal in every situation that you are following that plan of
Mhm.
nervous system elimination. And,
Mhm.
because there are plenty of acute cases where you can dive right in and get some great results.
Yeah, but Susie, if we looked at the acute extracts we use for colds, flus, and viruses, those are all very deep acting extracts. And
Yeah, yeah,
the
very
body
true.
accepts them quite well, because when we are in an acute state, we're able to receive that in a different way. And I'm sure that was the experience with that lovely horse you helped.
Yes, exactly. That horse. Yeah, I think, when I think back about that case, though, that horse, the elimination was good. So, um, and I did make sure that I did have an elimination extract in that protocol. But yeah, I think what you're saying is absolutely correct about that. Yeah, they are deep acting. They're just typically, I guess we wouldn't think delving right into a
Sure.
lymphatic, right?
Right.
We don't normally do that when we're thinking about a chronic case, but
Yeah.
yeah, I guess I just wanted to throw in that, of course, it's because they're so amazing, Gemmos, and they're so gentle in their action, and they're so targeted at what they do, that it's possible to also do that in an acute situation.
Yeah. Yeah, Susie, I think you have some stories you can share with us today.
I do have some stories. Yeah, I this is pretty amazing. I just want to share with about two of my cats. Um, and they're by no means, these have been long-term. They were rescued as feral cats, so there was a lot of shock and trauma. There was, there's
Sure.
been a lot, and they were living on the streets. Their whole family line was living on the streets. So I think they carried that whole family line with them. So one of my cats, she never really was okay, although totally got domesticated to been living with us and everything. She really wouldn't, touching her was a problem. We really, and this has been 15 years now, and she never really got to a place where you could actually approach her um, and pet her. Certain times you could. She had to be just absolutely in a perfect place for it to happen. So when I started working with the nervous system with her, I did use my two favorites. And I used Dog Rose and Hazel. And because for ease of use, I just gave her a drop of each every morning, and I kept at it. And I think this is an important thing for people to hear, because if I would have stopped early on, I wouldn't have noticed anything. But I kept at it because something was just telling me she just needs, this is what she needs. And I have to say, after like maybe it was a few months, she completely shifted after 15 years and became so much softer and accepting of being pet, and would really kind of lean into it and get her purr going on. And, the situation isn't perfect. I'm not saying that, but what a difference in a really extreme case, and what nothing else really touched it like these two Gemmo extracts did for the nervous system. And it was
Wow.
really quite amazing.
Wow. It's like you were peeling off the layers of her trauma.
Yeah. Yeah. I think so, because that edge that would be sort of indicative of panic, or that tightening up and freeze, that nervous system response has completely softened. It's not, and I'm so grateful for, sorry, I'm so grateful for these extracts, to achieve something like that. I mean, it's amazing.
Great story.
Yeah, yeah. I've used, and people can relate to this. Um, I've used some nervous system extracts that support the brain a lot of times after things that would affect markedly the central nervous system in animals, like maybe they have had some flea medications, or some, maybe too many vaccines, at the same time, or you know any neurological drugs. So I think that encompasses quite a lot of the population. um, and seizures, a lot of neurological issues. And I really liked silver birch seeds a lot for that. I think it has really helped in a lot of cases to sort of recalibrate the brain function, and the whole central nervous system, sort of mitigating some of the effects that these, chemicals or toxins are having on our animals.
Well, that makes sense because it is nutrition for the brain, right? So if we're
Right.
feeding the brain day in and out this nutrition, and it is a tonic, so it's encouraging the brain to remember all of its functions.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would think that would work well.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, I have a cat. I was actually just telling, for all of you listening, I was just telling Lauren about this before we got on. But I have a cat who very suddenly has sort of lost the use of his back legs. So it seems, for all intents and purposes, a very much a neurological um, causative factor behind it. And in the beginning, he wasn't urinating, very well or very often. He was not having a stool. I mean, he would go days, like 5 days without a stool. There were times he went a couple days without urinating. And I put him on, I've had him on various extracts for all of that and silver birch seeds pretty consistently. And I'm telling you, the cat is urinating regularly, every day, is having stool regularly.
Mm,
And I can notice a little bit of a difference in if I'm stabilizing him, he is like trying to move his legs. So
mm,
I really think, I mean, we have a ways to go with him, and I don't know if this is curative or not. However, my point is how much these extracts are helping him and helping his daily life and keeping him healthy, eliminating properly despite
yeah.
whatever neurological thing is happening. And I think using extracts that are targeting the brain are helping the communication, with the brain and the
Of course.
body.
Yeah.
So
Wonderful story, Susie.
yeah, yeah. I mean, tons and tons of cases, of course, but you know, we can do others. We could do we could do other podcasts and talk about cases, but I mean, I have cases where I use it for, really extreme skin conditions. Gemmos have absolutely cured the case. Ear discharges, chronic, long-term situations where extracts have been absolutely curative, just using Gemmos alone.
Wow.
Digestive issues. I mean, there's so many different cases, and there's
Susie, I
so
think sharing a case about, if you have one in mind about skin and animals, because I think that's quite common. Folks, or at least your thoughts on how someone might approach that, like how you use Gemmos for skin. Because we do have a lot of Gemmos that specifically target skin, but that isn't always the first place to start.
That's right. And in fact, I don't start with a specific skin targeted Gemmo, because usually in these cases there is you can see an issue with elimination.
Mm,
It's either opposite end of the spectrum. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen a skin case where the animal either didn't have super infrequent dry, crumbling stools, or conversely really very loose stools. So, in a skin case, I would approach it that same incremental way that we talked about in the beginning. I'm looking always for a nervous system extract. And then I'm assessing what type of stools does this animal have. And first, before I do anything else, I want to address that and make sure that we've normalized the stools. And that usually happens fairly quickly with these extracts, because they're so brilliant in their efficacy. And then after that, I do either both or either of these two things. I consider the gut health and the microbiome. So I use extracts that target that. And fig comes into play, and walnut comes into play for that, because typically there is some dysbiosis going on. And, or I do come in with some skin extracts. So I have used cedar of Lebanon. I have used elm. So yes, but it's not the first thing I do. I do feel it's important, as you have always taught, that, for people as well as animals, that you do want to get them to a little bit more of a stable place, make sure they're eliminating their toxins, because these are drainage remedies. So, right, we want to make sure that the animal can drain. So yeah, that's how I do it. Nervous system, elimination, consider gut health, and then maybe use some actual skin targeted gemmos.
And you feel they're quite successful with clearing up skin?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I think diet is important too. I mean, like it is for everyone. But I quite successful. Yeah, because you can just see how the skin body is trying to express out through the skin when the toxins aren't being eliminated properly. When the stool is so infrequent, as is often the case with these animals, and it's dry, and it's just, that those toxins, that inflammation is absolutely staying in the body. So if we can get that moving, get that going, get those kidneys functioning, get the intestinal motility going, it doesn't need to come out through the skin anymore,
Yeah, isn't that?
So yeah, I mean, it's not easy. Some of these cases, they're not easy, and they can take some time, but they're moving in a forward direction the entire time. They're getting healthier and healthier and healthier. So yeah.
Yeah, Susie, I mean, this is great. And I think it's been a great little pathway into this topic. I'm sure people have hundreds of questions for you. So I'll make sure I include some contact information in the description, so of how folks can reach you or make an appointment to meet with you. Is there anything, I mean, you're so passionate about this work with Gemmos and animals, and you've made such inroads. Is there just any closing words you'd like to share for people that maybe are hearing this for the first time?
I'd like to share with people that there is always hope for their animals, no matter what the condition is or the severity. I think that Gemmos can offer so much stability and comfort and relief for these animals at any stage. I've used them on kittens and puppies, and the very elderly. There's really no time that you cannot use Gemmos. And I'd love for people, to learn more about this. And it's so easy I think, for them to educate themselves, so that they don't always need to come to somebody like me. It's pretty easy with some education, a little bit of education and learning, that people can learn what to do at home for their animals and really save them from kind of going down a road where they might be previously inclined to using something that might be a little bit more chemically based or a little bit more toxic to the system. So yeah, there's hope. This works beautifully. It's very effective, and it's gentle, and it really settles the nervous system and emotional state. So I say hold some hope. Hold some hope for your animals.
Oh, that's a great place to wrap on. Hold some hope, Susie. That's great. Well, listen, thank you for being so generous with your time and sharing. And folks that are listening, reach out and see what more you can learn. make an appointment with Susie, and particularly if you're facing a challenge right now with your pet. So great, Susie. Thank you.
Oh, it's my pleasure, Lauren, and thank you for all of your work. You've really opened this up for the world, actually, and I appreciate you.
Thanks.